Salutations, I am Sarah Mitchell. Today, I find myself compelled to share a haunting experience from my past. One that stirs within me a deep well of regret and self-reproach. This experience is one I wish I could erase. Yet it serves as a reminder that perfection is an illusion in the tapestry of life. This tale began in Silicon Valley, where success stories bloom like wildflowers after rain. At 18, I lived with my family in an expansive mansion overlooking the Bay Area. A place where tech dreams come true, yet one that conceals its own dark mysteries. I thought I possessed it all. My family was flourishing. Both of my parents had achieved remarkable success in their fields. David, my father, was a prominent figure in the tech industry. His startup had grown into a billion-dollar company, making headlines in every major tech publication. Jennifer, my mother, had transformed her passion for interior design into a thriving business. Her name was synonymous with luxury homes and celebrity mansions across California. In the midst of their busy lives, my parents always tried to make time for their children. But it was my two older brothers, Ryan and Jason, who truly shaped my world. Just 2 years ahead of me, they possessed an extraordinary allure and charm that made them legends at our high school. Ryan, with his perfect grades and quarterback position on the football team. Jason, the artistic soul with a smile that could light up any room. I always felt a deep sense of pride having brothers like these. As the youngest, my parents showered me with both financial support and abundant affection. I never wanted for anything material. Yet I must confess that while their love was undeniably powerful, it paled in comparison to the warmth I felt from Ryan and Jason. They were not just my brothers, they were my protectors, my confidants, my best friends. Always there to watch over and support me through every challenge life threw my way. Their love, unlike our parents, wasn't shown through expensive gifts or grand gestures. Instead, it manifested in countless small moments of care and attention. They had a remarkable talent for sensing my emotional state without a word spoken. In the tender days of my youth, whenever I encountered bullies or distress at school, they were my steadfast defenders. I remember one particular incident that perfectly captured their protective nature. A group of girls had been mocking my outfit, reducing me to tears in the school bathroom. Ryan and Jason didn't just offer comfort, they took action. They spoke to the girls' older siblings, ensuring the bullying would never happen again. They chose words over violence, their calm presence guaranteeing my safety. During family dinners, I would always nestle between Ryan and Jason. They would wrap me in tight embraces, often joking about who would get to sit beside me. Our precious little sister, they would say, destined to be protected by us forever. As time passed, I started to notice their love was different from any other in our family. They were the first to guide me through the awkward terrain of adolescence. When I began to struggle with insecurities about my appearance, Jason spent hours teaching me about makeup. All while assuring me that my natural beauty needed no enhancement. Ryan would help me choose outfits, affectionately calling me the prettiest little sister in California. They made me feel special, loved unconditionally. In my mind, my brothers transcended their familial roles. They became my emotional anchors during the times when our parents were consumed by their careers. Ryan and Jason were the constant presence that ensured I never felt alone. They drove me to school, helped with my homework, and were there on sleepless nights. When anxiety kept me awake, I would softly knock on their doors. They would always welcome me in, sharing funny stories or simply keeping me company until I drifted off to sleep. Their small gestures convinced me that their love ran deeper than our parents' distant affection. Yet that love, the one I believed to be pure and perfect, would become the source of my deepest regret. It's a story that requires more courage than I currently possess to fully convey. The events that unfolded after my 18th birthday would irrevocably transform my existence. Living in our beautiful home, I often engaged in playful behavior without considering consequences. I would jump into their laps or cuddle beside them as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Ryan and Jason, my beloved brothers, were my greatest source of comfort and security. One sunny afternoon in late spring, I emerged from my bedroom. Sunlight streamed through our floor-to-ceiling windows, bathing our modern living room in a warm glow. Ryan and Jason were lounging on our leather sectional, absorbed in something on the massive flat-screen TV. I approached quietly, my bare feet silent against the hardwood floors. Neither seemed aware of my presence, yet a mischievous smile played on my lips. With playful energy, I sprang onto the couch, landing comfortably across both their laps. Ryan jumped in surprise, causing Jason to laugh and ask, "Little sister, what are you up to?" I giggled softly, choosing to remain silent as I settled more comfortably. My head rested gently on Ryan's shoulder as I asked, "What's got you both so captivated?" When they didn't immediately respond, I turned my attention to the television screen. They were watching what appeared to be a romantic film. The scene had reached its climax, two characters locked in a passionate embrace. As my eyes remained fixed on the screen, I felt Ryan and Jason shift uncomfortably beneath me. While Jason tried to suppress a smirk, Ryan quickly moved to shield my eyes. "Don't watch, Sarah," he said, "this isn't appropriate for you." I laughed, freeing myself from his grasp. "I'm not a child anymore," I protested, "I'm 18 now." Though I maintained a light-hearted tone, something deeper stirred within me. Even as Ryan tried to block my view, I persisted in peeking through his fingers. My laughter echoed through the room as I playfully provoked them. In that moment, I instinctively adjusted my position to maintain balance. Whether by design or mere chance, my hand brushed against something in Jason's pocket. The firm, warm touch sent my heart racing. In an instant, I pulled my hand back, panic crashing through my chest. My eyes couldn't meet either Jason's or Ryan's as waves of humiliation washed over me. Stammering an apology, I rushed to my room and slammed the door. My back pressed against it, heart pounding as though I'd committed some terrible transgression. Sitting on my bed, the recent events played on loop in my mind. Was I reading too much into it, or was there something more to that moment? The sensation from Jason's pocket haunted my thoughts, bringing an unwanted flush to my cheeks. My mind wavered between embarrassment and curiosity. I wondered if Ryan and Jason would simply brush off the incident. Yet I couldn't stop dwelling on that moment. Not because I had touched something inappropriate, but because I had unwittingly crossed a line. It was the first time I realized that the wall I had always thought unbreakable was actually quite fragile. As evening approached, hunger finally drove me from my self-imposed exile. I knew my family would be expecting me at dinner, but embarrassment from earlier still clung to me. I wasn't sure whether Ryan and Jason were thinking about the incident. I comforted myself with the thought that perhaps it wasn't as serious as I imagined. Maybe they had already forgotten about it. Quietly, I eased my door open and cautiously made my way down the hallway. I tried to avoid any chance of meeting their eyes as I approached the living room. Pausing to listen, I heard no sounds from within. Relief flooded through me, the room seemed unoccupied. I assumed they must be in the kitchen or somewhere else. As I stepped into the living room, I was startled to find it completely empty. How strange, I thought to myself. I lingered by the sofa, the very spot where I had settled earlier. As I reached for the remote to check what channel was playing, I heard movement behind me. Jason's voice broke the silence, What are you doing, Sarah? I jumped at the sound, spinning around to find both brothers standing there. Ryan let out a laugh, declaring, "You look just like a deer in headlights." We all startled at once, and I stood there, surprised yet somehow delighted. Clutching my chest, I exclaimed, "You both scared me half to death." Though I tried to seem exasperated, I couldn't help but join their laughter. "Seems like you're up to something suspicious," Ryan teased with a playful smirk. Jason raised an eyebrow, gently. "Are you?" Pulled my hair, and asked, "You weren't planning to raid the kitchen, were you?" I became part of their laughter, the earlier discomfort seeming to fade away. I wondered if what I had touched was really what I thought it was. Ryan and Jason's easy laughter suggested perhaps I had imagined the whole thing. This understanding brought me comfort, and I resolved to act as though nothing had occurred. "I was just checking if anyone was around," I said, trying to steer the conversation elsewhere. "What were you two doing back there? Trying to scare me?" Ryan grinned, attempting to mask his amusement with a serious face. "Just wanted to catch you off guard a bit," he admitted, "but your reaction was priceless." Jason chuckled, "Who could have predicted you'd jump so high? Your face was absolutely worth it." We all erupted in laughter, and in that fleeting moment, the tension melted away. Jason placed his hand on my shoulder and announced, "Well, let's go eat. The whole family's waiting." I followed behind them into the kitchen where our parents had gathered. The warm glow of evening light filtered through our kitchen's massive windows. As I settled into my chair at our sleek marble island, everything felt normal again. Dinner was filled with the usual mix of laughter and casual conversation. Our parents discussed their latest projects while Ryan and Jason shared stories from school. I participated in the conversation, and the earlier feelings of embarrassment seemed to evaporate. After dinner, I helped Mom load the dishwasher before heading upstairs to prepare for bed. As I lay in my room that night, I pondered the day's events. A lingering sense of embarrassment washed over me as I recalled what had transpired. Yet I found myself free from the grip of anxiety. A quiet smile bloomed within me, a gentle reassurance that everything would be fine. Ryan and Jason were the epitome of what brothers should be. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a profound sense of peace. I was calmly confident that everything belonged to a bygone era. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a story that would change everything. I came to understand that my room was not truly a sanctuary of solitude. The walls that separated our spaces were surprisingly thin. Even the softest whispers of music or conversation could seep through with ease. One morning, breaking from my usual habit of sleeping late, I woke at 7 a.m. At first, I thought I had emerged from a dream I couldn't quite grasp. Or maybe it was the California sunlight streaming through my designer curtains. As my senses sharpened, I began to perceive unusual sounds drifting from the neighboring room. My bedroom was nestled between Ryan's and Jason's in our modern home. The house, though beautiful, featured walls that weren't as soundproof as they should have been. Usually, I could hear my brothers' music or their video game sessions. But this morning, the familiar sounds were replaced by something different. It wasn't loud, but it carried a clarity that captured my attention. At first, I assumed they were watching an action movie. But after a brief moment, an unsettling feeling began to creep in. The sounds diverged from typical movie dialogue or effects. They presented themselves as a series of sporadic fluctuations. Sometimes languid, other times quick. My heart began to race, and an unsettling thought sparked warmth across my cheeks. Though I hesitated to acknowledge it, the escalating sounds drew my attention. They revealed themselves to be neither melodic nor typical dialogue. Instead, they were a collection of swift, intimate noises, punctuated by deep breaths and soft murmurs. I tried to push my thoughts aside, yet with each passing moment, my conviction only deepened. I found it impossible to ignore the possibility that Ryan and Jason were engaged with adult content. A tide of humiliation washed over me. I found myself wondering why I had to be conscious at this particular moment. My heart pounded with such intensity that it threatened to burst, while my body seemed to be consumed by an inferno of embarrassment. I lifted my hands to cover my face, striving to banish the unwelcome thoughts. I kept telling myself that this was a private matter. Yet the strange sounds drifting from their room grew more and more unsettling. Our bond had always been robust, and I never expected to find myself in this situation. I longed to silence it, but the sounds persisted, growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. Unable to remain still, I leapt from my bed. Quietly, I eased my door open, unsure of my next steps. The discomfort in my chest made it impossible to stay in place. My feet carried me silently down the corridor. As I neared their door, the sounds became so vivid that it felt as if the walls had vanished. I stood frozen outside, enveloped in a haze of embarrassment and confusion. My heart pounded, and my thoughts swirled in chaos. I had knowledge of such things; it was likely a sentiment shared by many teenagers. Yet the echoes from Ryan and Jason's room held a unique resonance. I found myself in a state of uncertainty, biting my lip nervously. I was at a crossroads, torn between the urge to withdraw and the desire to stay. With my ear pressed against the door, I struggled to steady my breath. Yet the cacophony outside drowned out any semblance of rational thought. A part of me longed to withdraw while another remained entranced, unable to break free from the alluring sounds that beckoned me. Suddenly, the door burst open, and I flinched in surprise. Jason stood there, wide-eyed and bewildered, as though caught in a moment of transgression. We both froze, filled with doubt about what needed to be expressed. We exchanged glances, enveloped in a silence that stretched on endlessly, as if time itself had paused for our moment. The stillness hung heavily in the air, suffocating and thick. Gasping for air, Jason cleared his throat, striving to ease the weight of his anxiety. "Sarah, what are you doing right now?" His voice quivered. He remained rooted in place, flushed with embarrassment, clearly battling to keep his composure. He ran his fingers through the hair at the nape of his neck, deliberately avoiding my gaze. Jason's face was flushed with embarrassment. I felt the impact just as much. My heart pounded fiercely. A wave of warmth enveloped my entire being. I bowed my head, avoiding his gaze, and whispered, "Ah." I was merely passing through. Though my words faltered, they were all I could manage. Suddenly, the noise within the room ceased. Ryan emerged from behind Jason, his expression mirroring his brother's, flushed and uncomfortable. He cast a fleeting glance in my direction before swiftly averting his gaze. We all lingered in silence, grappling with the weight of unspoken words. The air was heavy with tension, an unspoken weight that left us all uncertain of how to break the silence. A nervous smile crept onto my face as I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to mask the unease that bubbled within me. "I merely happened to be passing," I reiterated, my voice quivering marginally. I should go." I spun around and hurried back to my room, eager to flee the uncomfortable situation with all the speed I could muster. As I departed, I sensed their gaze upon me, yet I refrained from glancing back. Upon entering my room, I shut the door softly and leaned against it, Inhaling deeply, trying to calm my racing heart. My heart raced as if I had stumbled upon something meant to remain hidden. A sense of embarrassment settled in my chest. I found myself unable to shake the memory of how Ryan and Jason had looked at me, coupled with the heavy silence that had ensued. The scenes looped in my thoughts endlessly, recurring with vivid clarity. I endeavored to cast aside the negative thoughts. Yet with each attempt, they only grew more formidable. I repeatedly reassured myself that this was merely an unforeseen circumstance, an occurrence no one had wanted or intended. Yet I found myself pondering whether it had irrevocably altered our dynamics. A brief moment passed before a knock echoed through my door. My heart plummeted at the sound. I surmised it couldn't be our parents. They typically entered only when they needed something specific. It had to be either Ryan or Jason. With a deep inhalation, I sought to steady my racing heart. Before the moment could unfold further. As the door creaked open, Jason lingered in the threshold. His expression mirroring the same embarrassment from moments earlier. He averted his eyes, his hands restless and uneasy. "Sarah, I truly apologize for what transpired earlier," he murmured gently. "It's not as you might imagine. We were simply watching something. And perhaps the timing was a bit off. Isn't that so?" I lingered for a moment, caught in hesitation, as I observed the doubt reflected in Jason's eyes. At that moment, Ryan entered through the doorway behind him. He appeared equally uneasy, his gaze flitting between me and Jason, searching for the appropriate words to say. A silence enveloped the room, stretching on for several moments. As no one dared to break it. The silence hung heavily in the air once more. And I sensed we were all grappling with the challenge of moving beyond this moment. I came to understand that persisting in this uncomfortable silence would only exacerbate the situation, prompting me to take the initiative to speak up. I offered a hesitant smile, attempting to maintain an air of nonchalance. In the midst of the palpable tension. "Oh, please," I insisted, "I didn't mean to make it awkward. Don't look so worried. I just happened to be walking by, honestly." Ryan and Jason shared a glance, their eyes conveying a silent conversation between them. Following a momentary stillness, Jason exhaled softly, a hint of a smile re-emerging on his face. "Truly, Sarah, you're fine," he assured me. "This ensures your comfort?" I nodded swiftly, attempting to offer them some comfort. "Yes, I'm doing well," I replied. To be frank, I believe we all find ourselves navigating delicate terrain. To simplify matters, I proposed, perhaps the three of us should talk. Maybe it will help dispel this tension that lingers. Both Ryan and Jason appeared taken aback by my proposal. Yet after a brief pause, they both consented. We settled into my room, and I perched on the edge of my bed. In an effort to lighten the mood, I turned to Ryan and playfully teased him. "The content was so captivating that you both lost track of everything else?" At long last, Ryan let out an awkward laugh, hastily shielding his face with his hands. "Come on, Sarah," he pleaded, "please stop teasing. We honestly didn't expect anyone to be awake." I arched my eyebrows in a playful manner. "I thought you had turned up the volume deliberately," I said with a smirk. "You know, so I could hear it better." They both chuckled, and some of the tension began to dissipate. Eventually, my curiosity overwhelmed my better judgment. I cast a glance at Ryan and Jason, contemplating whether to voice the thoughts that had surfaced in my mind. Following a fleeting pause, I mustered the courage to speak. "What if I began hesitantly. We tried something similar? The words escaped my lips before I had a chance to rein them in. Uncertainty clouded my mind regarding their potential reaction. Yet an undeniable wave of curiosity washed over me. Ryan and Jason turned to me, their expressions a mix of astonishment and intrigue. "Are you serious?" Lucas inquired, his voice laced with confusion. I inclined my head, striving to maintain a solemn demeanor. My curiosity got the better of me. I admitted softly. "Why not give it a try?" "Absolutely not," Ryan responded, his head shaking resolutely. Both of them averted their gazes, visibly uneasy. Yet I was far from willing to concede defeat. I grasped their hands tightly, a gesture meant to offer comfort to both them and myself. "Just give it a chance," I whispered. "I want to understand, to experience." After a prolonged silence, Jason let out a deep sigh. "Okay," he finally said, "but just this once. And we keep it between us." His voice was low, underscoring the significance of boundaries. While the room remained still save for the sound of our breathing, my heart raced as we embarked on each movement. Cautious yet brimming with intensity. Time seemed to slip through my fingers. And in the end, it felt as though the entire world had dissolved, leaving just the three of us in its wake. Sunlight poured into the room, casting a warm glow, while a serene silence enveloped the space. We simply reclined beside one another, our breath synchronized in a gentle rhythm. The tension I had once dreaded faded away, giving rise to an even more profound bond. Later, we made our way to the kitchen, ready to prepare lunch and face the day ahead. An unexpected sense of ease enveloped us, as if nothing extraordinary had transpired. Yet within me, I sensed that the line separating us had subtly altered. As we settled down to share a meal, Jason smiled at me and inquired, "Are you okay?" I inclined my head, mirroring his smile. "I find myself in a good place," I replied softly. "And my affection for you both has only deepened." They flushed at my words yet continued to hold my hands, their smiles radiating warmth and affection. They echoed the sentiment. And thus we carried on with our meal, acutely aware that our relationship had transformed. Yet there was no sense of regret, only an enriched connection, one that would linger unvoiced but unmistakable between us. From that moment forward, everything seemed transformed, yet in a nuanced manner. Our relationship, once unblemished and straightforward, had now traversed an unseen boundary. The intimacy we once shared had transformed into a more intricate tapestry. Each glance exchanged held a new understanding, a profound connection that had eluded us previously, though we never voiced it. The unspoken bond lingered, subtly altering the dynamics between us in ways that defied easy explanation. Yet beneath the surface of our evolving relationship, a nagging awareness lingered within me, a recognition that our actions were not justified. The line we had crossed was misguided. We had succumbed to the allure of youthful curiosity, and though it drew us nearer in certain respects, it also etched a lasting impression on my conscience. The undeniable truth lingered in the air. We had transgressed some essential boundaries. Though unintentional, our actions transformed my perception, leaving a heavy burden on my conscience. At times, the anxiety still lingers within me. As I reflect on that moment, a sense of unease resurfaces each time my gaze meets Ryan's or Jason's. A palpable shift hangs in the atmosphere, an unvoiced strain that hovers just out of reach. We never revisited the events that transpired. As if we had reached an unspoken consensus to erase it from our memories and press on. Yet the manner in which they regard me has shifted significantly. They move with a certain caution and tenderness, as if they fear causing me pain, despite the love I know they hold for me. Whenever our gazes meet, I can't shake the sensation of my heart quickening. A blend of exhilaration and trepidation courses through me. An unfamiliar sensation I never expected to feel. The inquisitiveness of youth guided us along this journey. One brimming with emotions we were ill-prepared to confront. Our bond has deepened, yet it has also become more intricate. And I understand in my heart that nothing will ever return to how it once was. Reflecting once more, I recognize the impulsiveness and immaturity that characterized our actions, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge and a whirlwind of feeling. I ventured into territory that was never meant to be explored. I harbor no regrets, yet I cannot escape the persistent shadows of guilt and confusion that linger in my mind. It remains there, a constant reminder that the pursuit of curiosity can occasionally guide us into perilous territories, though our intentions may not have aligned with the outcome. The reality remains, and we must now confront the repercussions of our actions. This experience has imparted a significant lesson. While curiosity is an inherent trait, it does not always merit fulfillment, particularly when it jeopardizes the sanctity of our relationships and the boundaries that safeguard us. The confines of life are not mere limitations. Rather, they serve as safeguards, shielding us from the weight of our choices. At times, we might look back with a tinge of regret for having restrained ourselves. Yet remaining anchored often proves to be the wisest decision. To all who find themselves perusing these words, I wish to impart a nugget of wisdom. Beware of fleeting curiosity. It may tempt you into choices that jeopardize the precious relationships you cherish. Before you let your intense feelings guide your actions, take a moment to reflect on the potential long-term effects. Emotions, particularly the intense ones, may be ephemeral. Yet the repercussions they leave behind can hold significance that endures for a lifetime. Honor the connections you cultivate and the limits that accompany them. Genuine love, the enduring kind, does not demand hasty gestures to demonstrate its resilience. It is founded upon trust and respect, as well as understanding and responsibility. The most significant lesson I have come to understand is this: some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. And the weight of that knowledge will stay with you forever. End.